because I think that's the one thing American Christians never face. Like money is not inherently bad, but the love of it is bad, famously the root of all evil. What does the gospel tell us about greed, and how is that
Well,
reflected in the preaching you hear from the pulpit?
one of the most beautiful things that Jesus accomplished when he conquered death was that he replanted on the earth the original relationship of man and woman to God that had disappeared at the fall. And that was a life of complete consecration, where the happiness of Adam and Eve was to be called God's friend. That was their greatest honor, the church fathers say, is to be called God's friend. And I just note that Jesus said that to his disciples at the end of his ministry. He said, I no longer call you my disciples, you're my friends. That was an incredible honor. Abraham, the great patriarch, was called the friend of God. In the New Testament, as soon as Jesus sent the Holy Spirit on the day of Pentecost, remember, he was crucified, he plundered hell, he rose again on the third day. He spent 40 days teaching us how to live in the new resurrection life and how to love people and evangelize the world. And then he ascended to heaven, right, from the Mount of Olives. I've stood on the spot in the Holy Land, and in front of his eyes, the eyes of his disciples. And he sat down at the right hand of God. And then, as a coronation gift of his enthronement, he sent forth the Holy Spirit 10 days later on the day of Pentecost. And the whole community of Christians, 120 at that time in the upper room, were became spirit bearers, something that in the Old Testament only